Whiskey for the Ages is not sponsored or endorsed for any product or program mentioned in this show and receive no remuneration from their creators.
Hello everybody, and a warm welcome back to our Whiskey for the Ages podcast subscribers. I'm your host, Brian Dawson. Tonight, Hannah's here on my left.
And a big thank you to those of you who are tuning in for the very first time with us.
And of course, Alora's joining us on remote.
Hi guys. If you like what you're hearing in our episodes, please consider subscribing to us.
Great. Tonight, we're popping the cork on a new bottle of whiskey.
And like we began in mid-season last series, we're doing a review.
That's right. So let's just jump right in. Let's get going on this. As Hannah said, we're reviewing a whiskey tonight, and we're spotlighting something really approachable, a whiskey which is readily available, at least here in Idaho, and one found in most well-stocked store shelves.
Alora helped us choose this one this time around, and what we chose...
Yellowstone American Single Malt, for a couple of reasons. First of all, none of us have had this one, so we're pouring something new. We get to taste it for the first time. And two, back in January, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Trade Bureau, the TTB, made American Single Malt an official whiskey category.
And we knew that so far this season, we've been discussing a lot of ryes, and that actually was what Alora pointed out to us when we were trying to decide, wasn't it, Alora?
Yeah, Dad sent me a text and he was like, okay, we got two whiskeys that we're interested in reviewing for this episode. There's this one and there's this one. And I honestly didn't really look beyond the whole, was it going to be a rye or American single malt? And I was like, yeah, we've done so much rye. We've done so much rye, we've done so much bourbon in like all of our seasons. So why not do the less common one?
Yeah, American Single Malt. So here are the vital stats for Yellowstone American Single Malt. First of all, its category is American Single Malt Whiskey. The company is from Luxco-owned Limestone Branch Distillery. Luxco is an MGP company, by the way. It's from Lebanon, Kentucky. The distillery, of course, is MGP. They're getting the distillate out of Indiana. The mash bill is 100% malt barley. This whiskey is made from two different malt barleys. It's made from 2-row and 6-row malt barley, and I'll tell a little bit about that here in a moment. Barrel's 53-gallon new charred oak. Barrel char is unpublished. The entry proof is unpublished. It's aged 4 years according to the website, and this is coming in at an ABV of 54%, or 108 proof.
Which matches pretty well with our proof discussion that we had last episode of that 101 to 110 range. So
Yep.
this one kind of is a sequel.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it high? Is it high for American single malt, or is that?
No, it's just right in the ballpark of where a lot of them are. Some of them start out at 90, but this one's at that 108 proof.
I think it's hard to tell what the general proofs are going to be for the American single malts because it is still new, and even though we have an official category for it now from the TTB, I think there's still a lot of feeling out that distilleries are going to be doing to land on a normal, what they'll consider a normal proof range for their their lines.
So listen to our last podcast, that 101 to 110 proof, and a lot of things I think would really apply here.
Yeah.
So MSRP, nationwide average, $57.50, thereabouts. Fair price, according to Booze App, and now this is a crowdsourced total. People who use the Booze App think that a fair price would be about $72. I paid $54.95 here a couple weeks ago on this. As I said, availability, it should be readily available in a well-stocked liquor store. Limestone branch is a fairly popular distillery.
Especially the Yellowstone, and it's because of the television show Yellowstone.
Exactly.
It's
But I was wondering.
yeah, we've had the Yellowstone bourbon.
Yes.
And that was a long while back. I think that was one of the first official reviews that we had published on our blog.
Could be. Could be.
Very early on in the blog journey. And we haven't really had an opportunity, or frankly sought an opportunity maybe, to continue looking into the Yellowstone lineup. Not because we disliked Yellowstone, but it was kind of a middle of the road bourbon. But maybe their American single malt will be very different.
We've also had not a aversion to drinking whiskeys that have been endorsed by certain, like, celebrities or shows. Like, we haven't really gone down that route.
This, I believe, and I'm going to say something, and I'm sure someone in the world is going to immediately go, nope, she's wrong. That's okay. But I believe the whiskey came before the show. And the show utilized the whiskey, and the whiskey blew up as a result of that. It was Yellowstone and Bullet. The two of them were really popularized by the show. And Bullet
said that they were accessible, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Bullet certainly came before the show too. That one I know.
Absolutely. So let's talk about this barley, as I mentioned. 2-row and 6-row malt barley. They're barley varietals. The names come about because of the way the kernels appear on the barley head. If you could imagine a stalk and the little grains coming off the stalk, if you put a little barley piece on one side of the stalk and a barley piece on the other side of the stalk, and you build a head from that, that's what 2-row barley is. 6-row, same thing, only there's 6 barley kernels on each stalk. Now, why would they use 2 different ones? 2-row malt barley has a higher starch content and a lower protein and enzyme level when they are compared to the 6-row barley. The 2-row malt barley produces a cleaner, maltier flavor, making it preferred among many single malt whiskeys. The 6-row malt barley has that 6 staggered rows of kernels I mentioned. They lead to smaller and more compact grains, but they have higher protein and enzyme levels, making it better for converting starches into fermentable sugars. It also gives more of a grainy and husky flavor compared to the 2-row barley. So by blending the 2 and the 6-row together, it balances enzyme activity while offering malt complexity. Like we do for all of our reviews, we're enjoying this with about 4 ounces or maybe a little bit less in our Glencairns, and we're doing this neat. We're not putting any ice in it or anything like that. So, enough talking, girls. What are you guys getting on the nose here?
Those of you who are getting into American single malts may agree or disagree with me, but it's similar to Scotch for me in that it's barley, and I do get a hint of those similarities. And for a while, that was all I was smelling, was just like typical Scotch, where there's barley. There may be even like almost like a seascape. I don't know. But as I was smelling it further, I started getting some citrus in it. I got a lot of grapefruit and even some like pink lady apples. So it's a kind of a light, fruity American single malt for me. Hannah, what are you getting? You're going to disagree with me. She always disagrees.
We always disagree. Our listeners will know we always disagree on these things. There's a few things that are overlapping. I can understand where you're coming from on the grapefruit aspect of it. I think there's a bitterness here. On the nose, I've also got written down that there's a dark caramel and a dark chocolate. Both of those have bittery tones to them as well. I also have written down walnut, which is again kind of bitter. I agree with you on the seascape theme. I did write down that this almost has a brininess to it. I think it melds in with a yeasty bit. I also got some black pepper out of this. That came in only on a really deep inhale. Overall, I thought this was actually, despite the chocolate, the caramel, everything, I think the overarching theme of this to me was that it was savory, but that it was still kind of bourbon-esque. A lot of the time when I nose the American single malts, there's a really intense softness that comes from them. And it's a bit harder for me on the nose anyway, not as much on the palate, but on the nose to really identify a great amount of things or a great amount of depth. But this kind of start to finish was a pretty deep nose for me.
I think I like American single malts typically more than you do, Hannah. I kind of share that quality with Dad. It's interesting. I'd consider it, like you mentioned, bitterness, like the dark chocolate, a little bit of walnut. I started to get those notes when you said them. But I would still consider this to be a brighter whiskey. I typically will do something as bright when I taste or smell something like lemon or maybe some brininess. When I say something tastes darker, it usually means that I'm referring to like dark caramels or dark fruits, like plums, berries, cherries, something like that.
And that's fair.
Right.
For me, I'm getting a freshness from this, and to me, it feels soft to me. That bitterness that you guys are talking about, I'm not getting, but I'm getting grain, and I wonder if that bitterness isn't from the grain.
Very well could be.
Not grain like corn grain, or not grain like rye.
It'd be grain like barley.
It's barley grain, exactly.
Yeah.
You guys were going off about fruit. I went so far as to say it's more like a white peach. It's fresh.
I just don't get freshness out of this.
Really?
No.
I'm getting that apple note that Laura mentioned that, I don't know if I'd go so far as to say pink lady or not, but it kind of bites. There's a citrus note to it. I wrote down little to no spice, and then right after I wrote little to no spice, I wrote a little white pepper.
So you said white pepper, I said black pepper.
You said walnut.
I did.
I said hazelnut. Both are bitter
Both are
nuts.
bitter. Mm-hmm.
And I'm also going to say that there's little to no barrel influence on the nose at all.
No, none of us commented on any oak tone there.
So all in all,
it was bleached, and I would be very hesitant to say it was a barrel char 4. I'd be very hesitant about it.
Yeah,
I don't think it's that.
They didn't say what char it had on it. They said it's new charred barrels, so it's going to be probably 3.
I'm going to guess 3. This has a surprising dark color to it for a single malt. Normally I associate them with them being pretty pale. And if the website is saying that this lived in a barrel for 4 years, it has to be a char 3. It's pretty tawny.
It's a nice color.
It's a really nice color. It looks like a bourbon. A pale-ish bourbon.
Yeah.
But it looks like a bourbon.
Yeah. It's got nice legs.
Yeah. Good crown.
I suppose it would be kind of typical for it to be on the lighter side instead of the darker side, because Scotch is on the lighter side, and both are made of barley. So.
Yeah. So Laura, you've been sipping. So we're going to pick on you a little bit. Let's move on to the flavors. What are you getting?
Well, first of all, it burned the hell out of my lips. And that's because I've got a recital coming up, and my lips are terrible right now because of the clarinet, so it felt like a soothing alcoholic burn on my lips. And then I'm also coming off of a cold, so it's very soothing on my throat too. It's great. I get a lot of bread in this. And this time I am getting some more savory notes in it. I would agree on the peppery note of it. I'm not sure if I would say if it's black pepper or white pepper, but overall I get a lot of grain, like the barley bread that you mentioned, out of this. I'm having a harder time getting any of the sweeter notes, but I think right now I've been mainly fixating on just how it's been feeling in my mouth. It's kind of a relief, and yeah. How about you guys?
I've taken exactly 3 sips, so I'm still trying to process.
I'm going to say that the freshness for me is still there, but that 54% alcohol is asserting itself.
I wrote down, wow, hello, alcohol, on my notes.
Yeah, and it surprised me that, 108 proof, and it's making me think a little bit.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that.
Yeah,
It's a nice thing. Laura, I'm going to mimic you and say, I'm getting a peppery note to here. I still am getting the light note of fruit, and I'm still getting the grains. But beyond that, I'm not getting any bitterness like you guys were sensing on the nose. I rather like this. It's got a good mouthfeel to it. That's just real basic stuff, but I like that.
It tastes very fresh to me, and I respect that. I like fresh stuff. I'd say it doesn't, to get the brighter fruits that I got before. I'm even trying to get some of the bitterness, like the chocolate and the nuts in it. I don't know. I think it's still good. I don't think that the aroma and the taste of this are quite merging the way I want them to. Like, I usually want them to be like, oh, I can get this from what I smelled, or I can get that from what I tasted. They're very different to me, the aroma and the taste. So, yeah.
As I sit between sips, I'm getting more fruit and more. I know I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, but that's more in the finish in the throat. To me, there is no barrel influence. If it is, it's more of an earthiness. But it's not dirty or anything like that. I wouldn't go there.
I did write down a light oak.
That's fair.
I agree with Alora that this really doesn't harken back to the nose so much for me, although I think it probably does more so for me than it does for Alora. Coincidentally, I also, it stung my lips the first time
Really?
and my lips are not chapped, they're not torn up or
You're not playing the clarinet?
No, I'm not playing the clarinet. And it shocked me, actually. I've got that wow, hello alcohol. That's all correlated to this having actually a really great mouthfeel. I am really impressed with the mouthfeel. It's got a lot of texture. It's got a lot of pull to it. I know that everybody loves to talk about the oiliness or how smooth something is, and there's something to be said for those, but there are some nights where I really just want a whiskey that's going to sink into my taste buds and just grip him.
I think this is doing that.
This is definitely doing that, and I like that. I find that really entertaining in a whiskey. Like, it's got a little personality to it that way.
The girls know that when I drink a whiskey, I often will take a mouthful and then just sit with it in my mouth. I don't swish it around or I just let it sit there and let it coat the entire mouth. The saliva kicks in. It makes it more oily. This has got a great mouthfeel.
It's really, really nice.
When you're talking in terms of aroma and flavors, you're right. They don't really match up. Frankly, the palate seems a little light to me. As far as flavors, I'm not getting as many flavors as or at least I didn't write as many flavors down. But what is there is pleasant.
Normally I like it when the nose and the palate are in congruence with each other. I didn't dislike the nose on this one, but I was coming into the palate in the back of my mind going, these flavors are nice, but they're maybe a little bit on the sweeter side in some cases, or on the nuttier side with a bitter tone to it. I don't know how I'm going to like that in my palate. Because this palate is different, I actually like the palate way more than I thought I would. And I'm glad that it's different from the nose in this case. You guys were mentioning that you weren't sure if it was a black or white pepper. I got both. I decided not to split hairs there. I also got a little bit of cinnamon, so that bitterness still kicked in some way, shape, or form. The apples that Alora was mentioning on the nose, I finally had come in here on the palate. Specifically, I wouldn't go with the Pink Lady, which are pretty tart apples. I got more of a Red Delicious apple on this. It's really soft, but still pretty juicy. I got Yellow Cake.
Ooh.
Which was a fun one for me. A yellow cake.
Every so often we get yellow cake in a whiskey, and it's always surprising.
It throws me off. The walnut's still there. It's married though with now a vanilla and an almond for me. So all of those things they keep themselves separate from the apple, which normally when you have a vanilla almond, it's looking to link up with cherries somewhere. There's no cherries. So the vanilla and almond and now the walnut hang out in their own little taste pocket. I mentioned the light oak. There's even a little bit, for me, of some fresh leather. And maybe that's where I'm getting the mouthfeel, or trying to attribute a flavor to this textury mouthfeel. And the only thing I can think of is calling it a fresh leather. I don't know. I'm really impressed with this palate, though. It doesn't taste like a single malt, though.
It doesn't. It's more bourbon-esque than it is Scotchish.
Yeah. I think that's really important to note for the people who may be looking for an American single malt classic taste, whatever you want to call a classic taste, with it being softer, maybe a bit more fruity, grainy, earthy, those kinds of tones. You're not gonna get that here. This is really bold for an American single malt. Really bold.
I just did a Kentucky Chew on this.
I gotta do that.
And when I did, immediately after the chew, I took a swallow. It lights you up. It moves across the palate. The flavors kind of explode on the back of the tongue. And now I get that bitterness. But then, the back of the tongue, you pick up those bitter notes from.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
I think the apples light up a whole lot more when you do that.
I'm getting that fresh peach again. You know, we've got some differing tastes here tonight.
I think we're all circling the drain. We're just from different wedges of the pie. Alora's doing a Kentucky Chew. I can tell by the look on her face. She's contemplating her life choices. Glaring at me.
In the glass, when I take a sip, the legs break, and it's almost a curtain of liquid that clings inside the glass. And then left behind is a dotted crown.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not necessarily a full clinging crown, but lots of dots.
I don't know
lots
if
of
that's.
driplets.
I don't know if that's something
Driplets?
we've. I don't know if that's something we've ever talked in great depth about on our show, as far as what the look of a whiskey is in the glass with legs. And you know, if you're a wine drinker, you kind of already know the lingo, what legs are. what a crown is. Essentially, it's just the... I'm struggling to come up with a word for it. It's sort of like a whiskey residue that clings on to the inside of the glass, and it can make shapes.
If you take your glass, in our case, the Glencairn, and you roll it, tilt it on its side, and you roll it. Make sure you don't pour it on your lap. And then you stand it up. What's left behind
they're like veins.
Is veins, or like I said earlier, a curtain of liquid that falls back into the pool.
Yeah.
That's how I like to describe it.
Yeah.
But left behind is that crown. It's an inverted crown. The spikes aren't pointed up, they're pointed down.
And sometimes you can get a sense of what the mouthfeel is going to be when you look at the legs or the crown to know, okay, if they're really clinging to the side, there's probably going to be a strong oiliness to this whiskey. If there's going to be more of like a dotted crown or everything falls back into the glass sooner, maybe it's going to be a little bit more textured like what we're seeing here. We've got a dotted crown. So
exactly.
The math is mathing.
It's clinging.
Yes.
I usually will attribute like the crowns and the legs to the viscosity as well. The thicker ones tend to leave more visible legs and a more visible, like, not necessarily dotted crown for me, but it also is, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. Correlation does not equal causation. And sometimes you'll see those things and it's like, you're not going to get that creamy, thick whiskey feeling in your mouth. You're probably going to get maybe a more liquidy, more cleansing sort of feeling. I'm getting a lot of that with this. Hannah said I was contemplating life choices. No, I wasn't. I was just reveling in how great it was feeling in my mouth.
When you were doing the Kentucky Chew?
Yeah.
Did you get anything new out of that?
It felt very cleansing. I got a lot more sweeter notes. I also got some darker notes too. Like I was getting the chocolate. I was getting the walnuts. I don't know if you guys have ever done this before, but I think Hannah and me and Dad would go to this one place where we would collect walnuts for the squirrels in our backyard, and the smell that those walnuts had, very pungent. They were like a very pungent walnutty smell. They didn't smell really like nuts to me, but I just remember that. And
then that smell clings to your hands and gloves and everything for days. Yeah. But I was getting some of that, and while no, it wasn't pleasant at the time, it's now kind of pleasant because it's kind of like that nostalgia. It's a memory.
Yeah, I mean, when you smell things, I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of studies that are like, yeah, your smell is linked to memories. Like, if you smell something, it's able to take you right back to a memory. And for this, I do remember picking out walnuts off of the ground to take back to our house to, put them out for our squirrels in our backyard. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you got the crunchy leaves there too, so you got that earthiness. Maybe that's where that's coming from.
Yeah, could be.
Dried leaves.
Yeah.
It's very refreshing. I do enjoy this quite a lot, and my lips and my mouth are probably all chopped to hell because of the recital coming up and me playing clarinet constantly, but it just feels very, very refreshing on it. It's very cleansing, and yeah, I'd happily go for this again.
Very nice. I touched on it earlier, the finish on this. It's a long, warm, lingering finish.
It is.
And I don't normally get that from an American single malt.
No.
That's another very bourbon-esque quality.
Yeah, it is.
This has got all the characters that were on the nose for me in that finish. And actually darkens as it finishes. I think the barrel is now coming through. And it's not big barrel. It's not char or anything like that, but there's a barrel influence here. We keep saying it's bourbon-esque.
It is.
This is a nice American single malt, and I would say from a personal standpoint, if you want to get into American single malt, this would be a great platform to jump in. It's not going to taste like Scotch. So if you don't like Scotch, this is not Scotch-like.
No. This one is really throwing me. I really enjoy this. This is something that I'll definitely buy again. This is something that I'll happily pour and enjoy. And I think I say all of that because it's bourbon-esque. And like Alora mentioned, I'm not as much of a fan as the American single malts as Alora and Dad are. I like my bourbons, I like my ryes, I like deep flavors, I like higher proof, I like a lot of complexity. And those don't always come across in American single malt. Because this is so bourbon-esque, I actually struggle to say that it's a good American single malt because it's not behaving
That's fair.
as an American single malt. It's trying to jump a category. And while I'm here for it, I wonder if the people who are looking for American single malts would look at this and say, yes, that's representative of the category, or this is an appropriate product for the category.
So
even though it fits it by technical standards, I don't know if it's. I think it's really, really trying to push an envelope there.
Well,
and
let me throw this at you. Yellowstone American Single Malt. This is not a new product. This has been around, I'm going to say at least 6 or 7 years.
okay,
I mean, the late 2018s, 2019, it started to rear. And at that time, this was not an official category yet. So do you think that maybe Luxco and Limestone Branch was making this to convert folks?
I think so. I mean,
Or make it
are very
easier for folks to
bourbon-
drink it?
I think
We're very
that
bourbon-oriented people, I think, and we started out this whole journey on bourbon. And when we got into American single malt, we were still very much into bourbon. We were getting into ryes, I think more because Hannah wanted us to go on that route. But, I mean, when we were exploring, we were going in with a bourbon-esque lens.
yeah,
So naturally, in order to like American single malt, we were trying to find qualities to make us like them more. Now, that being said, we're not intentionally doing that. At least I don't think I'm doing
no,
that.
right,
But it's just what we brought up. It's just how we brought up ourselves
yeah,
when going to American single malt. Had we not had the bourbon background that we do, maybe this would be very different.
yeah,
Maybe this
And
would-
that's very fair.
yeah,
I would also say that bourbon, while certainly influenced by the area it's made, I don't think it's as influenced as much as American single malt is. If
Right,
you think
yeah.
of the tiny country of Scotland, there's 6 different regions and 6 different styles of Scotch. One might argue there's more, but there's 6 known, everything from the Highlands to the Isla to
Speyside, Lowland,
and Campbellton and
Midland.
and I've had quite a few American single malts from all over the United States, and they're all different.
They all are, but I think you can still look at all of them and go, the grain is
Barley.
the hero.
Yeah.
And everything builds off of that. This is, I know I'm looking at it from a bourbon lens, and that's where
That's troubling.
that's troubling me, because I don't want to do that. Like Alora mentioned, I want to let the whiskey speak for itself and judge it for what it's trying to be, not what box I want to force it into. And I can feel my brain going, let's put it in the bourbon box. And that's troubling to me. I love this. I really, really love this. But have I done it a disservice by putting the lens on it that I have?
It's hard to not take a lens.
Right.
It really is.
Right.
I don't think I am.
I don't think you are either.
But I'm appreciating this for what it is.
I'm just prone to existential crises. Really prone. I think, okay, I'll say this. If you're an American single malt purist and you're there for the grain and you're there for a separation between bourbon and American single malt, this one's not going to float your boat.
Probably not.
But if you are wanting to like
explore
and try a new thing and you know you already like bourbon, this one could be right up your street.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's really about I think this particular one, and I don't know if I've really ever said it for any other review that I personally have ever done. This one is really important to approach when you understand your lens, how you come at whiskey, and what you're expecting from a name and a whiskey category like this. So basically take everything we've said with a grain of salt.
It's all subjective to what your personal taste buds are like, what your background is. Just go in with a brand new open mind whenever you're trying something new, just like with food or whatever, because it is an experience at the end of the day.
Very true.
So both Hannah and Alora add extras in their assessments. And when I say extras, Hannah likes to put in a setting. Where am I going to be drinking this?
I've been talking so much, I haven't been thinking.
So,
I know Laura's been pondering her special assessment, though.
So let's talk to Laura. Laura, you like to say, what music am I listening to as you sip this?
Yeah, usually I'll choose a symphonic one, and then I'll choose a more contemporary one, so there's like 2 song selections. And both of them actually came to me quite easily. This is, it's a brighter whiskey to me, and I think that American single malt, it's in the name American. So I chose for my symphonic selection Aaron Copland's Appalachian Spring. It's got a lot of bright, kind of fun, jovial moments that are more on the quicker side, more kind of like oh, look at this moment here, oh, look at this moment here. But it also has some really, really great lyrical lines, particularly in the high woodwinds, like clarinets. Of course, I'm partial. It's a very beautiful sounding melody. Those of you who know American folk songs, it references the folk song called Simple Gifts. I don't know if you guys know that one, but I've played it several times in my playing career, and I don't know the lyrics, but definitely check that one out. As far as contemporary, I kind of wanted to choose like a comforting sort of vibe for it, so I chose a Coldplay song called A Message, and it's basically about how you don't have to go everything all alone. Like you have people with you. We just need to get that message across to you that you're not alone in this world. So, A Message by Coldplay, Appalachian Spring by Aaron Copland. Please check them out. So, yeah.
That's really cool. That's really cool. We certainly can say that in this day and time, we're not going at it alone. Hannah, you came to a setting fairly fast. What you thought about it?
When I really gave it a lot of thought, and this is probably gonna make you guys laugh. I hope it makes you laugh because it made me made me smile. I've decided that this Yellowstone American Single Malt shall herein be referred to as my Forrest Gump whiskey.
Your Forrest Gump.
Because,
Okay.
because,
Elaborate.
because I want to have this sitting on a bench in a park or next to a street side and go, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. This is that one of those little chocolates in that box where you go, I didn't know what I was going to get. This is very different. This is now my Forrest Gump whiskey, and I say that endearingly.
It's a great movie. It's a classic.
I love this little American single malt. I can't help myself. I love it. I know that I'm coming at it with a lens, but you know, for what it is, it's speaking to me. It's speaking my language. It's meeting me at my level. And I love it for that. It's my little Forrest Gump.
And I would say that we have, in our family, we all have our favorite whiskeys, to the point where we occasionally will have, well, not occasionally, almost all the time, we have something on the shelf because it's a go-to whiskey.
Yeah.
You guys are all going to poo-poo me. I don't care. Evan Williams Bottled and Bond, go-to whiskey.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the first whiskey you may grab at the beginning of the evening. It's certainly going to be towards the end of the evening because it just does what it's supposed to do. It's a fine, fine bourbon.
It is.
100 proof, does everything it needs to do. $20. This is not a $20 whiskey.
No.
But you know what? I could certainly see having this one on the shelf
All the time.
because
All
you
the
just
time.
reach for it.
Yeah.
It's going to do things for you.
It's my little Forrest Gump. And I just, yeah.
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 Yellowstone American Single Malt. Is it worth the price? Now, a reminder, MSRP nationwide average $57.50. Fair price according to Booze App $72. That would be out of February 2025, and then we paid $55. Laura, are you going to jump in on this one? Would you have this one on your shelf as a college student?
$55. $72.
Definitely not 72. If you sold it to me, like with all the wow and pizzazz, I could be tempted to get it for the $50-something one. Because it is really, really good. But 70, that is a splurge for me.
Okay.
But if I did want an American single malt, yeah. Okay.
So let's
I
put
could be
it
tempted.
let's put it to you a different way. You got Larceny on the shelf. You got your Old Forester 1920 on the shelf. You got a little Eagle Rare left. And you have this sitting on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
What are you reaching for?
That's a hard question because it changes by day.
Now, yeah, now, while I still am kind of cold-ridden, probably this one. It's just a very freshening sort of vibe. It's not heavy, it's not dark, but I want something that's going to cleanse my mouth and my lips, and this one definitely does the job. Old Forester 1920, yeah, but it is heavier. I don't know if I'd be in the mood right now to go for a higher proof something. I'd want to go for my typical favorite range of 90 to 110. And this one is in that range.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could tempt me with $50, $50-something.
Hannah, what do you think?
I'll pay $55 for it. I'll pay $72 for it. I'd probably comfortably, without thinking too hard. This is going to shock everybody, okay? Everybody brace yourselves. I'd pay $90 for it.
I don't know that
I
I'd go
would.
90, but
I genuinely would.
Wow.
Because this one, the mouthfeel alone, not even getting to the flavors, the mouthfeel alone, I love whiskeys that have texture to them. I love whiskeys that bite back. And I love whiskeys that try to hit above their weight class. This is doing that.
it's definitely hitting above the weight class.
Its personality is just thriving.
It would have fit into last show perfectly.
So perfectly.
Yeah, I would have.
This one is unique. Even though it's bourbon-esque, it falls under, technically speaking, that American single malt category. And, maybe for me, not being an American single malt lover, having this one around would make me think, oh, I'm still including the category in my in my lineup. I'm not being exclusive to it. There's a lot of things about this that Hannah, personally love. And it's just speaking to me. This one is just speaking to me. Maybe this one is going to be the analogous Weller 107, which introduced me to love bourbon. Maybe Yellowstone American Single Malt will be the one that introduces me to loving American single malts more.
And that's a bold statement for
That's
you.
a really bold
That's
statement
a very
for me.
bold statement.
So everybody take that however you will. I'm making big statements tonight.
So I'm going to make a big statement as well. 92 is what I'm going to rate this.
Holy cow.
I really, really like this.
You really
So,
do.
Hannah, look at my 92s.
Yeah.
Let me see what your 92s.
The highest that I can
Yeah,
think of
name
is like
some common ones
93
that you might
rated.
hear of.
So in his 92 category, let's see if we can pull out some classics.
There's several
here.
Bookers.
There's 4 Bookers. There's a few Elijah Craig barrel proofs. We like our high proof products here, obviously. We've got a Knob Creek 12-year, a Larceny barrel proof. There's a little book here. Old Ezra, that 7-year barrel strength.
Oh, what a
Don't
great
sleep
bourbon.
on that one, everybody.
You see it on the shelf, buy it.
Grab it. There's a Stag Junior. Practically all of the things in your 92s are 120 proof plus.
Right.
So this one really is hitting above its weight
It's
class.
definitely hitting above it.
It's punchy. I have to do the math on what I'm rating mine as. Laura, how are you going about your rating on this guy?
I gave it a 90.
That's
I
a
give it a
solid
90.
rating.
That's a really high rating for you, too.
Yeah. I don't have as many reviews on the website. I'm sorry, but yeah, I'm happy with this one. It's just I really like the mouthfeel. I'll typically grade things by category. So like aroma, mouth, color, feeling, it's all one category. I understand that mouth and feeling are more of a similar. I don't know. I'm going to have to look at my template again, but it's out of 15. I'll one day post an article about it. I know. I said, one day I will write an article on the website. And it hasn't happened yet.
What are you doing? You're just sitting around your apartment. You're not doing anything. You're not tooting your flute.
The whole music building will disagree with that. I've been at the music building all day, this last week. Yeah, and then taste obviously gets its category. Finish also gets a category. It's had a really, really long finish, so it ranked really, really high. And then the other 2 categories that I have are worth the price and would I get it again? And absolutely, I would get this again. Worth the price. Yeah, it is. I probably would say it's like a 8 or 9 out of 10 on that one because I'm a college student and I'm poor. But yeah, I'm very, very satisfied with it. And it deserves every bit of praise that it gets, in my opinion. So 90 for me.
And I think it's a sleeper in the American single malt
Oh,
category.
most definitely.
And that's mostly because the Yellowstone line, while popularized by the television show to a degree, I think people do lean harder towards the Bullet for reference to that show than they do the bourbon itself.
Yeah.
And when they're reaching for a Yellowstone, they're reaching for the bourbon. They're not reaching for any of the more artistic flares from that line.
And I don't know what I rated the Yellowstone bourbon.
I remember actually what I did.
I like this much better than the Yellowstone bourbon.
I believe, let me check, because I'm looking at my ratings right now. I'm pretty sure I know. If I'm correct, I gave it an 88. Yep, I gave it an 88. The bourbon. This, I am giving... Drum roll. I'm giving this guy a 95.
Wow.
This is a big gun for me. It's not the highest score I've ever given a whiskey. I've given as high as a 97 before. My 95s, looking through those, are Booker's, Elijah Craig Barrel Proofs, Larceny Barrel Proofs, Weller Full Proof, a James Pepper Single Barrel Rye, which I believe was also relatively high proof.
Yeah.
So very much like you.
Yeah.
I'm pairing it with a lot of really high proofs, and this is just a little 108.
Yeah. But it's punching above its weight. Yeah, this is going to make you stand up and think about it for just a bit.
It is. I'm really quite pleased.
Yeah, I'm really happy with this.
Yeah. So everybody out there, don't sleep on American single malts.
No, especially if you can get this particular one for 55 and even 72. I think, again, that's worth it all day. If you're trying to break out of a bourbon lens, you're going to struggle with it a little bit because it fits into your bourbon lens really well. But maybe that's what you want.
And there's another one out there that we've done, and kind of a family favorite. I think is it the James Pepper. There's an American single malt.
Laura really loves that single malt from them.
So just don't sleep on them.
Yeah, and give this
it's
one a shot.
So embrace it.
Yeah, and give this one a shot.
Any other final thoughts on it?
I like it.
I like it.
I like it. 3 likes. 6 thumbs up.
6 thumbs up on the scale.
Alright, we're going to change gears. Finished our review. Going to move on to this fortnight in whiskey. Not going to get political here, girls, but Mitch McConnell and Warner, senators, push a bill to preserve whiskey and wildlife. So on February 14th, 2025, this year, a U.S. bill entitled the White Oak Resiliency Act of 2025 was introduced by Senators Mitch McConnell, Republican of Kentucky, and Mark R. Warner, Democrat of Virginia. Mark Warner, for people who may not know, was a former governor of Virginia. The legislation was made to support the growth of white oak trees. If you're not paying attention, you need to, and I think we've mentioned it in news in the past.
We have.
There's a pending shortage of white oak trees, and it's threatening the ecosystem and Kentucky's prized bourbon industry. The act would direct federal resources and research towards producing and protecting white oak trees. The trees that we're talking about here are concentrated in Virginia, but they're critical to the barrels that are used to make bourbon in neighboring Kentucky. Virginia has one of the highest concentrations of white oak trees in the country. The trees are playing a role both in ecology and the economy, and the trees have a dual utility as both food for many species and material for the forest industry. Without some kind of action, there will be severe shortages soon. It takes roughly 25 years for white oak trees to reach full maturity. Right now, there's a lack of seedlings, and the iconic tree may be facing extinction if we don't stop and figure out what's going on. Obviously, Kentucky bourbon is dependent on the white oak tree because it's made into the wooden barrels used for aging, but it's also being used in the furniture industry, in forestry industries. Like I said, many species depend on this tree living in the forest. So it's really important that we do something about it. We talk about barreling. It's providing the color and more than half the flavor in our whiskeys. As expected, the act is receiving strong backing from the bourbon industry, from companies like Brown-Forman and Sazerac, and they are really going forward in helping to push this. The legislation requires government agencies to study white oak populations and develop pilot projects to restore their growth. So my next story is a little bit long, but when I first saw it, I read the entire thing and I was really, really impressed with the information that was coming out. It's an op-ed piece, actually. It's an opinion, so we got to take that with a grain of thought. Fawn Weaver says, "Stop saying the spirits industry is in decline. It's not." So everybody knows Fawn Weaver, and if you don't, you probably should. Fawn Weaver is the CEO of Uncle Nearest. She is probably one of the more active CEOs in the whiskey industry that I know of. I'm really impressed with what she's doing, what she's done. It's really a cool story. So she has put out an article, and you can find the full link or links to the full article on our website. Is the spirits industry in trouble? Or is the trade simply in a state of recalibration following the COVID-19 pandemic? Fawn Weaver, founder of Uncle Nearest, has put together this op-ed piece, and she's looked at the recent headlines claiming the spirits industry is in trouble, declining consumption due to rise of non-alcoholic beverages, GLP-1 weight loss drugs, Ozempic, increased marijuana use, shifting generational preferences, but up until now, no one has compiled a full picture in one place. Fawn's done that. So the first thing she says is, look at this from a historical parallel. Think back 100 years ago. None of us were alive. But back in 1918, the Spanish flu pandemic led to temporary pullback in drinking in bars and restaurants. The whole world was shut down.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the United States. Europe was shut down. Everybody was shut down. People died in mass numbers from the Spanish flu. But when the flu abated, alcohol sales spiked and then stabilized several years afterwards. Fast forward 100 years, what happened 4 years ago?
But aren't we saying, though, that during the pandemic we saw a spike?
Yes.
Instead
Yeah,
of...
And we're going to talk about that. So
We were buying a whole bunch of liquors from the whiskey stores, and we would just,
yep,
have it in our apartments, have it in our houses.
exactly. COVID-19 created an artificial surge, just like you guys mentioned. Consumers stocked up in their home bars, and they replaced nights out with at-home cocktails. The surge was never sustainable. I mean, you can't go out and just buy, and sit at home and drink. Not that we sit at home and drink. The industry now is adjusting back to pre-pandemic norms. The market is correcting, not collapsing. So it is true that consumers are drinking less than they did at the peak of the pandemic, but spending remains strong.
While the money is looking the same, maybe, yeah, we're buying less, but if we're spending more on the liquors, then that's inflation driven.
It's a good point.
It's partially true. During COVID-19, at-home drinking skyrocketed. But as offices reopened and business travel resumed, the habit declined. From 2013 to 2018, pre-pandemic, spirit sales grew at an average rate of about 4.3% year on year. In 2019, the year before the pandemic, growth accelerated to 5.34%. Then, of course, it spiked. 10% growth in 2021 and 12.23% in 2022. Huge growth.
That's a lot.
U.S. retail alcohol sales, including beer, wine, and spirits, peaked at, get this number, $113.6 billion in 2023, and then settled back to $112.9 billion or $113 billion in 2024. Just a real modest decline. The adjustment was expected. I mean, you can't sustain that kind of growth. Yet some analysts are looking at this as a crisis. Well, it really isn't. There's a glut of product out there right now because while everything was going on, the distillers kept building. They kept growing. We talked about Buffalo Trace doubling productions. Mm-hmm. If the spirits industry had continued its pre-COVID growth trajectory, averaging 5% annual growth, the 2024 revenue levels would have not been reached till the end of this year. So in other words, where we are right now is on the trajectory we would have been had there not been COVID.
Yeah.
Data makes one thing clear. America is still drinking. The market isn't shrinking, it's simply stabilizing. Now we are part of this premiumization. We talked about this last week. We're not hunting for bourbons as much.
No.
We're not hunting, but what we are looking for is product that's a little bit more expensive. I just said earlier, and everybody said here, we would really not be trouble spending $55 for this American single malt we're drinking tonight.
Right.
You know, $55 is not a cheap product.
No.
It's certainly not the most expensive, but here we all said, yeah, we'd love to have this on our shelf. So
just think of any other goods that are $50. Like I got a humidifier that was like $50.
Yeah.
Like it is a splurge. It is a splurge. But.
So in a recent Nielsen report, Uncle Nearest, and of course it's her brand, grew 22.3% in the past several years. Other top bourbons, including Blanton's, Angel's Envy, Colonel Taylor, they saw gains between 20 and 55%. And then high-end tequilas like Lalo, Tequila Ocho, and La Gritona surged between 23 and 124%.
There's a lot of tequila popularity within the bourbon community. I'm very much included in that community.
And then
You've
high-end
gotten me tequila a bit more. Like I used to be like, this stuff is shit, but now I'm like, no, it's really good.
High-end bourbon and tequila brands have sustained double-digit growth over the past couple of years, showing that this is not a temporary trend, but a long-term shift towards high-quality spirits. Ms. Weaver states that the trend towards non-alcoholic beverages is overstated. The non-alcoholic category is growing, and she acknowledges that, but its impact remains small. I don't know of anybody who's buying non-alcoholic spirits. In 2022, it was at 20.6% in growth. 23, it spiked to 35. Now it's dropped back to 26% growth in 2024, and projected growth through 2028 is somewhere around 18%. But here's the kicker to it. 84% of that growth comes from non-alcoholic beer. Beer starts out at a low ABV of 4 to 6%, so it's easy to remove the alcohol while maintaining taste, and it is probably the biggest reason why it's getting the adoption from lots of people. non-alcoholic spirits, and I don't know how they can even call them spirits, is only about 1% of the growth. I don't see non-alcoholic whiskey or non-alcoholic
It's just not a
tequila
thing.
coming. And
It's an oxymoron.
Yeah.
exactly. And it's largely because the only way they're making it drinkable is they're adding artificial flavors to it, excessive sugars, and other compounds, which kind of contradicts the whole idea of the health conscious folks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because then it's kind of like when artificial flavors. I mean, you'll see those all the time, and it's unhealthy.
I just don't see it. I don't see it coming. Now, we just came through an election year, and I've been involved with elections. I'm a little bit older than the girls. Political uncertainty always happens during this time. Drinking levels go down, and then they come right back. I mentioned the GLP-1 drugs. What is it?
Ozempic.
Ozempic. I've read various different articles about Ozempic doing this and Ozempic doing that. According to a May 2024 study, health tracking, 12% of all adults have used Ozempic or something like it, the GLP drugs. Only 6% are currently taking them. So in other words, there was lots of people that try it, and then they stop trying it. They also found that over 30% of the patients that start discontinue the medications after the first 4 weeks, despite recommendations by doctors that say you need to be doing it for at least 12 weeks. So people are just not doing it like everybody seems to be thinking. Past health-driven trends like, the Atkins diet or clean eating movements or whatever do not generally lead to long-lasting decline in alcohol consumption. So therefore, there's no reason to believe that GLP drugs are going to affect anything. Now this one, I wondered about cannabis and alcohol. It's not a one-for-one trade-off. Alora, your age group, that Gen Z age group, is using cannabis in higher numbers than most previous generations.
I don't believe that.
I found that really hard to
I don't
believe
believe
because
that
I'm a
at all.
product of the 70s.
Actually,
No.
I do.
I
live
don't.
in a legal state right now, and I rarely will see people partaking in it that are not in my age group. So.
But the thing is I guess it's the method of consumption that's...
Yeah, it's edibles.
Yeah.
People are eating way more edibles, trust me.
Wow. The trade-off isn't there. Most people, and I'm going to throw it at myself, back in my day, people who consumed one also consumed the other. They were not separating it and saying, I'm going to do marijuana tonight and I'm not going to drink any alcohol. They were probably drinking alcohol too.
They.
Like I said, I'm a product of the 70s. Gen Z, that's you, Laura, is not rejecting alcohol for health reasons. What they're doing is, you've said it numerous times, you can't afford it.
Yeah.
It's a monetary thing.
And honestly, edibles and cannabis, at least in my state, from what I hear, are way more affordable than alcohol. It's not... I mean, you can get your Baileys and you can get your vodkas and you're set, but you just can't. It's not a matter of we're not motivated to. Trust me, we're angry enough to partake. We're angry and stressed out enough to do it.
Yeah, it's not really a health concern thing because of all populations, Gen Z is consuming nicotine at a rate that is higher than ever before. They're vaping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're getting their nicotine in ways we never thought of. You know, we bought a pack of cigarettes. I didn't. I've never smoked cigarettes ever. But unlike cigarettes, e-cigarettes, vapes, and so on contain significantly higher levels of nicotine, and they're considerably cheaper than alcohol. Mm-hmm. But the alcohol industry has always adapted to generational shifts, and it'll do so again. The market is really doing a reset, and that's a good thing. I mean,
that'll be the same for Gen Alpha when they come of age.
Yep. So I think that we're probably going to be fine. There's a lot of things to look at here. I encourage you to go to our website, look at this article. It was really enlightening as I read it. It was done with a lot of thought as well. And then my last story, this is a simple one. If you've been following the news a little bit, there are more and more distilleries out there that are going to contract distilling. I mean, the biggest contracting distillery that we know of is MGP. Mm-hmm. They've now said they're going to cut back a little bit, but there is a company down in Kentucky called Whiskey House. They're Elizabethtown, Kentucky. They are doing nothing but contract distilling. They're not competing with their customers. The Kentucky Distillers Association has welcomed Whiskey House into the fold as their newest member. They got founded or began back in 2021. Industry veterans David Mendel, John Hargrove, and Daniel Lynn started this place. It's a fully automated distillery. They're using AI to create stuff. It's really an interesting process. They put down 50,000 barrels last year, and it's all contract distilling. If we wanted to just have them do it, they will do as few as 2 barrels. For us, we could buy 2 barrels. They could create a custom recipe. They've got over 50 unique recipes that they're using. Their campus is huge, 176 acres, and it's in an industrial park. So it isn't anywhere near people or anything like that, so they don't have to worry about the fungus, the mold that's going around. It's really interesting. I think that's a pretty cool thing. I've read other places. Virginia Distillery that makes American Single Malt is also doing contract distilling for American Single Malt.
Are they the ones who do the Courage and Conviction?
Courage and Conviction, exactly. Hardin and its surrounding counties have 27 distilleries responsible for 7,000 jobs and $664 million in payroll. The bourbon brings into the area an annual economic impact of $3.3 billion and nearly $77 million in local and state tax revenue. The Whiskey House is part of that. I think we all need to welcome them. It'll be interesting to see who's going to use them and how they put it on their labels.
Yeah.
I want transparent labels. If they're getting it from somebody, let's say, oh, that's good. I'm getting it from Whiskey House. Now, I got a couple new bottles to search for here. The first one, I want it. I will tell you it's expensive, but I want it. Heaven Hill's latest unicorn whiskey isn't a bourbon. Heaven Hill's core lineup is anchored by the affordable and readily available whiskeys, Bernheim Wheat, Evan Williams Bourbon, we talked about that a moment ago, Elijah Craig Bourbon, Larceny Bourbon, Pikesville, Rittenhouse Rye, and they've got some highly allocated stuff. Old Fitzgerald, the Parker's Heritage Collection, and of course the Heaven Hill Heritage Collection. We did a review at the end of our second season of the Heaven Hill Heritage Collection. We loved it.
It was... We still have one splash left of that in the bottle.
The Heaven Hill Heritage Collection focuses on one of the distillery's 6 mash bills, and it's usually aged for much longer than other Heaven Hill releases. The first release came out in 2022.
I think that's the one we
have.
That's
the one we have. The 17-year-old cask strength bourbon with some 19-year-old whiskey in it as well. We talked about it, and we reviewed it in our Season 2, Episode 10 Listener's Pick review. The latest whiskey in that series is not a bourbon at all. It's a 19-year-old straight wheat whiskey made from just 277 barrels. I imagine there's quite a bit of evaporation that went
Probably,
happen.
yeah.
Distilled in August and September of 2005, Matured on the 5th and 6th floors of their Rickhouse Y. It has a mash bill of 51% wheat, 37% corn, 12% malt barley, and it is the same recipe used for their Bernheim original. And it's bottled at 50% ABV, which is the lowest ABV of any of the ones they've released.
Huh.
Distiller tasting notes, exceptional depth and complexity with a nose of clove, honey, and oak, which would make sense, it's 19 years old. Palette of baking spice, cinnamon graham crackers, and again oak, and a warm maple infused finish.
So they say.
So they say, take it with a grain of salt.
The 2025 edition comes in the special box with specific information including production date, mash bills, warehouse location, all that's going to be on the label. It's got a steep price. The one we paid for was $250,
$250.
and this one's $300. It's probably going to be a lottery item. If it does get released, secondary market is going to be
All
stupid.
over it, yeah.
But hey, if you guys find a bottle and you think we need it, then just send it our way. We'll do our best to dispose of it.
Yeah.
Michter's. Michter's releases a new bourbon that experiments with French oak maturation. Michter's, which was originally called Baumburgers from around 1860 until Prohibition forced the distillery to close, launched Baumburgers Declaration Bourbon in 2014. For the past several years, the annual Declaration releases were partly aged in rarely used chinkapin oak, a varietal of American white oak which imparts a distinctly spicy and intense flavor in the whiskey. For 2025, Michter's has pushed that barrel aging boundary further, and they have now gone to some French oak. Michter's president Joe Magliocco has described the release as a journey into the realm of wood science. French oak influences aroma, taste, texture, and finish. So Michter's Baumburgers Declaration is part of the Legacy series. Baumburgers PFG, standing for Precision Fine Grain. Origins are a little bit of a mystery. They're not letting people know where it's coming from, if they've distilled it in their own distillery or if they bought it from somewhere else. Michter's has remained silent about the mash bill, but it is at least 51% corn. How long it's spent in those finishing barrels, and of course the bourbon's age. But we do know that after it's been aged in the new American oak, the whiskey is finished in fine-grained French oak barrels. The natural seasoning and air drying allows the barrels to experience physical, chemical, and microbiological changes. Baumburgers PFG Declaration is custom filtered, bottled at 50.1% ABV, 100 proof, first aged in the new toasted and charred American oak, and finished in those custom barrels. Tasting notes: the nose is toasty, sweet with a complex bouquet. Palate bursting with fruits and spice, luxurious, creamy mouthfeel, and lingering soft spice and chocolate finish.
So they say.
Price at $140 US for the 750 milliliter bottle. Availability is in limited quantities all across the 50 states.
So these are just a few of the latest releases. Of course, you can learn a whole lot more about those from our website, whiskeyfortheages.com, where you'll find links to all of those news stories as well as all of our other podcast episodes that have already come out. Do take a look over there on our podcast episode archive.
So that's our episode. What do you think?
I really like this whiskey, and I'm really glad that Alora chose it for us to review.
It was about time that we went in depth with an American single malt, and I'm really happy that we chose this one.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
I think it's a sleeper.
It is a sleeper. It's been on the shelf every time we come in, and I never look at it.
I know. Maybe we're the problem. We've let it be the sleeper. I don't know, but I'm glad that we've been able to pull it into the spotlight a little bit more and talk about it so extensively.
Maybe we ought to do it more often. Maybe the next time I'm home, you guys will be like, Laura, don't drink that. And I'm going to be like, no, we're going to drink this. Because every single time I come home and I want to open something new, they're always like, no, Laura, don't do it. And I'm like, I'm going to do it.
You do
now
you.
It's just a motivation. I know. But Hannah's like, no, we can't do that one yet. And I'm like, why? We just can't.
Well, we like to review first opens.
Yeah.
That's our big thing.
Yeah.
Makes it feel more authentic. So let's talk a little bit about what we have coming up for the rest of the season. We are effectively halfway through, which is really crazy. We still have a lot of things coming your way, though. Next episode is going to be a distillery spotlight hosted by yours truly. I already know what distillery I'm picking.
Cool.
Haven't told these guys, though. We're hopefully going to have another guest or two come on in another episode. And we have another surprise under our slow pour banner. Earlier this season, we had Alora lead the charge with bringing bread into the conversation, and big introduction there on rye, and it's a featured presence in this season for sure. This next slow pour though is going to be radically different, so buckle your seatbelts. It's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, we have to have a whiskey history episode. Have to have those. We love our history. We love our knowledge over here. And then we'll be finishing up our season finale like we always have with a listener's pick review from our bunker. We haven't decided the full lineup yet for what we're going to be providing to you guys to choose from. We know of one or two that we're going to throw out there for an option. And I already know which one you guys will all pick. And I'm going to tell you prematurely, good job, good pick. But we'll wait for my confirmation bias to kick in later. Just mark this moment in your little mental noggin to know that Hannah knows. Hannah knows what's coming.
I wonder if it's going to be a rye.
Hannah knows. So that's what's coming up in this season.
So as always, thank you all so much for tuning in on this episode. It's been a very great blast. I'm hoping that we can all get more into American single malt and become more involved with it, is because this one is just, it's just a stellar one. Please don't sleep on it. If you find it, get it. Seriously. Even if you're not going in with a bourbon lens, or you are going in with a bourbon lens, it's just a great one to go for. Just have fun with it. As always, whiskey is always such a journey. Experience it on your own, experience it with the people you love. Have fun with it. It's a great journey. So as always, we like to conclude our episodes with the ringing of our Glen Cairns. So thank you all so much, and cheers everybody.
Cheers everybody.
Cheers.